What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the SevereMMA Picks and Plays. I am Spencer Kyte, friendly neighborhood Spencer man, joined by my partner in crime, Ian O'Neill. We are back for the first pay-per-view of the year. UFC 283 takes place tomorrow, Genesse Arena in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. Couple of title fights, a great main card, 10 prelims, 15 fights overall. It's going to be a long day of face punching. Io, how you feeling? You looking forward to this?
I am feeling wonderful. The first pay-per-view of the year. It's a really, really good card. I'm excited to see it, and now we're going to have a couple of bets to make it all that more exciting as well. So I'm really looking forward to getting into it. I'm sure you're going to have to break it to me gently about last week's proceedings. We had a little bit of fun. Wanted to be a little bit more.
You took a few more chances week one coming out of the gate.
Well, I'm not going to lie. There's a few chances this week
too. That's all right. That's okay. That's what this is all about.
Yeah.
So before we get to this week, we will, as we will do every week, we will recap last week. So UFC Vegas 67, the first event of the year. This is the picks and plays. In terms of the picks, I went 8-3. Ian went 7-4. Those are very good numbers. And I also think that this is a thing I harped on a lot when I was doing this solo last year. You can have really good pick days, and sometimes it just doesn't mean anything. It doesn't necessarily translate to the plays. I think that's what really stuck out for me last year was like, I can be banging these out at a 60, 65% clip, whatever it is, and I'm still losing money most weeks. What the hell is going on? Got to get these two things lined up, locked up. So for last week, for myself, I wagered $56. We returned $62.50 for a $6.50 profit. I will take it. It's good money. It's extra money. It's an 11.61% ROI. So my balance for 2023 is $1,006.50 heading into this weekend. Ian, on the other hand, wagered $100, returned $70.50. So took a little hit, lost $29.50, a negative $29.50 ROI. And I mean, look, your balance is still up there. You still got $970.50.
Are we operating off 1,000 or 2,000?
Oh, we were operating off 2,000, weren't we? All right, I will.
Hey, dude, I already lost enough money last week. You're trying to take another grand off.
I can't steal $1,000 off you. I can't steal half of your money off.
At this rate, I might not have made it to Lewis and Spivak in a couple of weeks' time. If you're
right. We are operating. Thank you for reminding me of that. We are operating off 2,000, not 1,000. But that's where we stand going into this one. Before we get into UFC 283, as always, I will remind you, for us, this is for fun. Our significant others want no part of us having $2,000 bankrolls and making any of these wagers. It is monopoly money. It is SevereMMA bucks. Please wager responsibly. This is meant to be a little bit extra fun, a little bit extra entertainment, for us a little bit extra maybe competition, but it's just meant to be, I said it all the time last year. I will continue to say it now. Please do not wager anything you cannot afford to lose. It is a losing racket. There's a reason all the cliches are there about gambling and the house always winning. It's not a lie. This stuff is tough. As I said, 8-3 last week, barely eked out a profit. Ian went 7-4, lost a bunch of money. Please be responsible with this stuff. If you or any of your loved ones, anyone you know is having trouble with it, we will include in the show notes a bunch of links for problem gambling help addresses for Canada, the United States, the United Kingdom, and Ireland. Please check those out if you do need any help. With that said, Io, it's time to dive in to UFC 283. We will do it from the top to the bottom, as we did last week, as we will do every week. So the main event, light heavyweight championship fight, Jamal Hill and Glover Teixeira. Who you got? And have you got any plays?
I've got a play for this one, and I mean, I've been coming up here saying that we're going to be all conservative and stuff this week, but I'm coming in hot with a flyer bet really in this one. But I'll discuss what I think of the fight first, and I think, I didn't have confidence enough in just to put a straight bet down on this fight. I do think that Glover Teixeira is going to get the win. I do fancy him, and I like his price at plus 110, but I don't like it enough to put money on it because it's the type of bet where you're not going to get too much out of putting a 10 or 20 on it. It's the type of bet where you need to be kind of wagering a little bit more. And I'm not confident enough to do that in this fight. Look, we talked about it in great detail, Spencer. And I think, the key to this fight is whether it remains on the feet or whether Glover can close the distance and get the fight down. I believe Glover can do that. And I think that he is going to do it early. My official pick for SevereMMA picks, which will be out today or are out today, is a Glover Teixeira by submission in round 2. And that's my wager. That's my flyer bet. So I'm going to go confident with my pick. I think that Glover, even at his late stage of his career, has enough to get Jamahal Hill out of there early. I think, he made some mistakes against Yuri Prochazka, and even, at this late stage of his career, he's still learning as a fighter. So I'm thinking that he's not going to waste too many positions if he does get the fight on the ground. And I can see him getting there, being dominant in the grappling exchanges and getting that submission. So my first wager is a flyer, but for small money, and that's $5 at plus 1,000 for Glover by submission in round 2. So it's an exact prediction. Can't say, this is like trying to find a needle in a haystack when we're going directly at rounds and method of victory.
Round and method combination.
So that's why we're going for a small wager at $5 for a big kind of a bet at plus 1,000. Will get you back $55. So that's my kind of picks and plays for that.
So as you said, we covered sort of the details of this fight and all of the fights that we like. We went through the entire main card and then a bunch of the prelims on the preview show. You, me, Harry, Shawnee Podcast made an appearance. It was great to have Sean on the preview for once again. So if you want to check out sort of the detailed discussion about these fights, please go check that out. I'm in the same boat as you. For the Severe staff picks, we have the exact same pick. Glover Teixeira, submission round 2. You mentioned the money line. You mentioned the straight win price of plus 110. You didn't like it. I like it. So it's $10 on Glover to win. 10 gets me 21. I'm a fan of doubling my money. I also have a $10 Glover Teixeira to finish at plus 160. 10 gets me 26. Glover gets a victory. He gets a stoppage win. I turn $20 into $47. That's going to carry me through, hopefully, the rest of the night. Or I guess this would be the end of the night, but you know what I mean? This takes me over the top, maybe. This adds to a profit. I just think there are more ways for Glover Teixeira to win this fight. We shall see, as we talked about on the preview show. Certainly avenues for Jamahal Hill. But those are our picks. Those are our plays. And we move to the second title fight on this card. Deiveson Figueiredo and Brandon Moreno, part 4 for the flyweight title. So for the staff picks and in terms of my pick here, I'm picking Moreno because I feel more confident in what I know I'm going to get from Brandon Moreno. I think the fact that he has a fight in between the third fight and this fight, that great win over Kai Kara-France, gives me a little bit more confidence in his ability to get the job done on Saturday. Again, I think there's a few more paths to victory for Brandon Moreno. He's got to watch out for the big power. We know what Deiveson Figueiredo brings to the table, but my pick is Brandon Moreno. And in terms of plays, this is actually a stay away for me. There's not anything that I like enough to really dive into it. If you want to get into Moreno by finish or by decision or Figueiredo on the other side, any of those props are certainly, there's good numbers there. If you feel super confident one way, you can find good value. But for me, it's just a sit and enjoy the fight. I want to watch this one. I don't like any of the numbers. I'm staying away from a play perspective. Excuse me. What about you?
For my pick, it is slightly different to yours. I have gone with Figgy. My pick was Brandon Moreno until today, to be honest, and I changed it at the last minute, and I feel that what we seen in the last fight was the good kind of game plan from Davison Figueiredo. Now it was a super, super close fight. I think the key in this fight is going to be impactful shots, and I believe of the two, that Davison will probably land the more impactful shots. Will he be able to do it throughout 5 rounds is the big question for me. I'm thinking that we're probably going to see, and I think I might have described it this way on the preview show, as maybe a 2-part fight where we're going to have Davison coming on strong and landing those big shots early. And the question is, will he be able to maintain it? I'm thinking that he's going to be able to do enough early to maintain the victory. I think this fight is going all the way. I think we've seen it going all the way twice already. I think these guys know each other so well and have so much respect for one another. You know, it might take something crazy to happen, and maybe someone might get somebody out of there, but I can see this going all the way. And my pick is Figgy to get the decision. Similar enough to you, none of the prices really stood out on this. I'm looking at Figgy at plus 100, which is an all right bet, but you have to wager big to win big, and I'm not willing to do that. I have included this fight or what the outcome of this fight is going to be in a part of a parlay. So I don't know, should I say it now, or should we hold off until the end till we talk parlays, or shall I just
talk about it at the end once we get through everything?
So I have a bet on this fight as a part of a parlay, but my pick is Figgy to win.
Which brings us to the middle fight on the main card, welterweight division, Gilbert Burns and Neil Magny. I think we both are very much in the camp of this being a Gilbert Burns win, and probably a pretty dominant performance. Correct me if I'm speaking out of turn and representing you incorrectly. I think it's a pretty one-sided fight. Do you have any plays here? Is there anything that stuck out to you in terms of the numbers?
Yes, I have a pick, obviously, and I'm definitely on the same thought process as you, whereas I think this is a good opportunity for Gilbert to kind of get himself back into the title mix, and it's a good opponent for him to go out there and to get a finish and to really kind of make a statement. Look at Neil Magny is a serious fighter. He has the heart of a lion, and he's done so well to get himself into this position. But we've talked about it time and time again. Every fighter has its limitations, and I think that this is about as far as Neil would probably ever be able to go. And we've seen that time and time again when it comes to fighting those elite level competition at the top of the division, in the welterweight division. So my pick is Gilbert Burns, and my play is a Gilbert Burns win by KO, TKO, DQ, or submission at plus 110. And I have $30 wager on that to double your money and bring you back 63. So that's going to double your money and also afford you to buy maybe a coffee out of Tim's or wherever. You're not going to be able to afford a $3 Starbucks coffee, but you might be able to go to Tim's here. And I know that maybe not everybody is going to be, oh, look at this, fancy out with your Starbucks. But this is my most...
Tim's is on the wrong side of the highway when I'm coming home.
Yeah, well, that's it. It's all about the handiness, isn't it? For me, this is my most confident bet of the entire card. I really feel that it's a good opportunity for Gilbert Burns to go out there and put on a good performance. And, I didn't want to play around with whether it's going to be a knockout or submission, so I just covered my tracks. We up-wagered a little bit, and we're going with Burns by finish at plus 110. $30 will get you back 63.
I have the exact same bet, just at $20 to get you back 42. I think this is one-way traffic, but exact same as you're saying. I don't want to mess around with, does he knock him out or does he choke him out? Just give me the finish. I don't want to play with the round props, although there are good numbers. If you think he does it quickly, if you think it's the second round, whatever, you can certainly get in on those, but just give me the finish. And kind of for me, similar to the Glover Teixeira thing, it's an outcome that I think I'm pretty confident in, and I can double my money. Let's go. And I might even the more I look at this. We'll see how I wake up tomorrow morning. This could be one of those ones where I tweet out, by the way, an addendum to the show. We're raising the stakes on this one because I think Gilbert Burns is really going to crack him. Like this may turn into a $50 bet because I really do. As much as I like Neil Magny as a dude and respect what he's done, I think Gilbert Burns smashes here.
Yeah, I think so too. And I'd be like along the same lines as you, except on the offer, I got my wings clipped a little bit last week. And we ain't playing with house money just yet. So that's why I said I don't want to reach for the stars too much. So that's why I kept it at the 30. And but I agree. Normally, if I was, and I don't really do it too much anymore, I'm sure you're the same as me. If we were putting down some money, you're going to wait and see how the prelims fights kind of turn out and how well you're doing there. If you have a little bit of money to play around with, well, then that's when you can start throwing a little bit more money at the main card. But
that's right.
We're definitely on the same page when it comes to that.
Which brings us to the flyweight division, Jessica Andrade and Lauren Murphy. This is a fight that when we were talking about it in the preview, I think we all agreed that Jessica Andrade has the more weapons, the greater pedigree, is the more, it's easier to see Jessica Andrade winning this fight. I believe she's minus 500 in terms of the betting odds, with Lauren Murphy coming back at plus 380. So clearly a very sizable favorite. I do think she wins. She is my pick. That is who I'm going with. But from a play standpoint, I've stayed away because there's just something. And look, maybe it's because of my relationship with Sean Madden, who is working with Lauren Murphy, is in Rio with her now in terms of her striking, that there's something about that fight with Miesha Tate that I need to sit and wait and see how this one plays out. And so I'm keeping my powder dry. We're not out. The wallet is staying closed. We're not taking any money out for this one. I don't like Jessica. As much as I think Jessica Andrade is rightfully the favorite, minus 500 is a number I'm not going near. And then in terms of the finishes or round props, I don't even really like the returns there. So I've stayed away in terms of plays. What about you?
I have added this fight into a parlay that we'll talk about a little bit later on, but similar enough to you, found it very, very difficult to kind of see where we can get some money here. So what I've decided is to take maybe one aspect that I think is going to happen in the fight, and I've added it into a parlay. But as my pick goes, it's definitely Jessica Andrade for me. I think she is the better fighter overall. She's more well-rounded, but I'm not disparaging Lauren Murphy's chances here at all too, which kind of helped me decide not to kind of make a serious play on Andrade or how the fight may go. So, Lauren Murphy, she's gone in there and won fights before where she has been the less skillful fighter, and she has that ability in her, and it's a fresh start. Look, she got a taste at the top when she went 4 rounds with Valentina Shevchenko. It didn't work out for her, so she knows what she needs to do to get there again. She found out that she wasn't quite good enough. And the Miesha Tate fight was the perfect kind of restart for her. And now this is a proper test. I think that, for Lauren Murphy, I wouldn't have been I would have been less confident in her chances of winning this if it was straight into this fight from the Valentina. I think having a fight and taking on someone like Miesha Tate, a former champion and a legend of mixed martial arts, women's mixed martial arts, I think, Murphy has a chance if she can kind of implement her game plan and kind of get in there and fight a dirty fight. But I fancy Jessica Andrade. I think she's going to be more powerful on the feet. I think she's going to be stronger in the grappling exchanges, and I think ultimately she's going to get the win.
Which brings us to the main card opener, light heavyweight division, Paul Craig versus Johnny Walker. Where do you lean in this one, Io?
My goodness, I lean in the side of madness for this, because I think chaos. We could see some madness in this fight.
Utter chaos in this fight.
It's like Paul Craig. I can't remember exactly how he described on the preview show, but I think Paul Craig is going to go out there and alongside Johnny Walker, who's going to probably start off the fight, being technical, being kind of methodical until he gets hit into the nose. And he must have a button there that anytime he gets hit, he turns into a berserker. So, I mean, it's the perfect recipe for madness. My pick in the fight, I believe, obviously Johnny Walker has some big power. I think he has the bigger power of the two, and I think he'll try to utilize that power. I feel that he can get Paul Craig out of there, but my pick is Walker. My play is nothing on this fight. I chose to stay away because it's the type of fight where, you know, we could see Walker going nuts and Craig throwing up another triangle. I think the benefit of Johnny Walker working with John Kavanagh SBG is going to show in this fight. I think he kind of needs to remain calm. He needs to stay out of berserker mode as much as possible and not follow Paul Craig down onto the ground. But I fancy Walker to get the job done here over Paul Craig, but I have steered away from a play in this fight.
So I would like Johnny Walker to get into berserker mode, follow Paul Craig to the ground, and then make a bunch of mistakes. Because I've picked Paul Craig to win by submission in our staff picks. I'm making that same pick here, Paul Craig to win. And on the play side, that means I've got an underdog that I like. And so it's very similar to the Glover Teixeira underdog picks. I like these stack bets where I can put one on top of the other. It's $10 on Paul Craig to win at plus 170, returns $27, and another 10 for the finish at plus 225. If Paul Craig's going to win, he's getting a finish. It's just, it's the way these things go. If you want to even mix in a finish in round one for another little bit of a prop in there, by all means, have at it. But for me, those are the two. 20 gets me 59.50. If we can get that one to start the main card, get Glover to close the main card, we've had a good day. We've had a profitable day. If those two hit, away we go. I don't discount anything that you said. I think Johnny Walker certainly has the ability to go out here and win this fight and win it probably rather handily. I just need to see him not be a mad bastard. And I need to see him beat somebody not even significantly better than him, somebody on that same level as him, where it's not them making a whole bunch of mistakes, Ryan Spann, for me to really start backing Johnny Walker, because he's just too wild at times. I think
crazy.
He does have that button that he just going to get popped and be like, I'm going to throw this stuff out the window and leave an arm out there that Paul Craig's going to be happy to take home to Scotland.
So I know John Kavanagh is going to be shouting at the top of his lungs for him not to, or disengage, or stand up. It'll be interesting to see whether Johnny Walker listens or not, because, you know, we've just maybe to talk about it for a little bit. We've seen Johnny Walker going in there, and I thought he fought an excellent fight. I think my analogy was on Johnny Walker is I think he should have fought Thiago Santos like he fought Jamahal Hill. And I think he should have fought Jamahal Hill like he fought Thiago Santos. And he kind of got those roles mixed up. And I think if he can go out there and produce the performance like he did against Thiago Santos, where he didn't go into berserker mode, but have a slight little bit more output in the fight, I think he has the ability to get the job done here. Because, you know, Craig is probably going to not want to stand and bang with him.
Right.
He's going to do what Paul Craig does. He's probably going to get into and engage, and even anything that slightly hits him is
close the distance, look to pull guard. Yeah.
And you know what? That's what's got him to the dance, man. And I don't belittle him for that at all. It's been, and it's phenomenal entertainment looking at it as well. And I don't disparage what your pick is on this, because it could very well happen. But yeah, I'll remain true to my pick, and that's Johnny Walker. I think my official pick might have been Walker by first round knockout. We'll see. Not super confident about that.
It's fun when we're on opposite sides of things every once in a while. It brings some competitiveness into this. We move to the prelims with one that we talked about on the preview show. Could be a happy ending, could be a very, very sad ending. Mauricio Shogun Rua versus Ihor Pretoria. What is your pick, and do you have any plays?
Oh, this was a difficult one for me because I'm a diehard fan of Shogun Rua. I fucking love that man and all the joy that he has brought me while watching him fight in all of his previous encounters. If this is the last one for him, I hope it ends well. And I really looked at this and I really asked myself about my pick and about my play in this fight. And it comes from a place, it comes from my head that I think that Shogun, even though he is at the later stages of his career, didn't perform all that bad against OSP. And I think he might just have one little battle, because the UFC, I think, is trying to do him a little bit of a favor in this fight. I think the UFC is trying to do him a little bit of a favor.
I love that you're with me here.
So
know where this is going.
so my pick. Look at Poteria is long and he's rangy. He against Negramano was who he fought last. I thought, look at, he did all right in the early stages until the grappling happened. He defended the takedown quite well for some time, but eventually got taken down. But when he got back up, he was tired. And I think if you're Shogun Rua, you've got to do the exact same thing. Let's not get into the old warrior spirit here, Shogun. Let's kind of close the distance and take this fight down, because you do have some really underrated jiu-jitsu as well, and you do have some good damage on top as well. We remember all of those finishes, wasn't it? It was, what's the game, Ricardo Almeida, with the time where he just came in with that ground and pound. Like, he had ferocious ground and pound back in the day. And I think that's the key for him to win this fight. He needs to not stand and bang, because you know what? He might be able to pick apart Poteria on the feet, but he can't trust his chin anymore.
Right.
So why chance it? So I expect Shogun to close the distance here. And what I want Shogun to do is close the distance, make this a grappling fight early, see what's left in the tank. And I fancy Shogun to get the win here. My pick is Shogun and my play is Shogun. It's $20 at plus 180 for him to get the win. It doesn't matter how he does it. All he has to do is get his hand raised at the end of the fight. I think it would. I think it's going to happen. I hope it's going to happen, and I would be so happy to see it. If he does that, you know what, I'm going to break character, and you're going to, if you had a video on me in the living room on Saturday night, I'm going to stand up and I'm going to fist bump on that couch for him, that he gets to leave mixed martial arts with a good news story rather than a bad news story, because it doesn't happen all that much, really.
So I've made the same pick. I just, in sitting here and putting them together today to get into this, I thought about all the things you said from Ihor Pretoria's last fight, from Shogun's last couple fights, and I also just said, fuck it, I'm picking Shogun. I'm not picking against him in Brazil in what is his final fight. Let's go. I'm not, however, as I said earlier in the week on one question, and I believe 10 things, putting any money on this fight, because this is, I don't want to lose money betting on Shogun, and I don't feel confident enough risking money betting on Shogun.
I think it's all down to,
we're keeping that $10, that $20 in the pocket. We'll spend it elsewhere where I feel a little more confident. I do like the play. Like, this is one of those fights to me where, and this is going to come out on Friday. On Thursday night, we're taping it on Thursday afternoon, peek behind the curtains. On Thursday night, I've got to do a betting show with Visson, with Dan Stupp from the Action Network. He and I agreed, as we were talking, sort of going through some notes, this is a dog or pass fight. This is, you're going with Shogun or you're just staying away from it. And so your bet, your wager, I love it. Makes a whole lot of sense. I hope it cashes. I will be happy not to get any bullets from that one winning. Happy for you to cash that ticket, because it'll mean Shogun's winning and
tempting
going out on a high note.
Tempting fate going with the double, with the pick and the play on this fight, but hell, you might, as I say, there's an old saying in Ireland, you might as well be hung for a sheep as a lamb.
Every time I do one of these shows with any of you guys, I get some new material. I get some new phraseology to remember. We move to the middleweight division. Gregory Robocop Rodriguez against newcomer Bruno Ferreira. This for me is just, I have to go with Robocop based on the experience factor, based on Ferreira coming in on short notice, it being his UFC debut. He looked fine on the Contender Series. He earned his opportunity to be here. This feels like not quite being thrown into the deep end, but kind of like 2/3 of the way down the ramp, down the slide that goes into the slope that leads into the deep end. Like, Robocop is 4-1 in the UFC. The one loss is a split decision loss, a close fight with Armen Petrosian. We saw him come back from a hellacious first round against Chidi and Njokuani last time out, and a gnarly cut, one of the worst cuts we've seen, to still come out and get that finish. And I just have to side with the veteran in this one. I don't have any plays, though. This is another one of those fights to me where none of the numbers really made sense. There's a bunch of fights on this card where I didn't really like. We've got too big a favorite, and that just leads to even any of the props just not quite looking good enough, tasty enough for me to get in on it. So I'm staying away in terms of plays. I'm picking Rodriguez. What says you, good sir?
Yeah, first of all, about the card itself, I felt the exact same way. Really hard to pick out bets, and it's normally the opposite way around when it comes to pay-per-view cards as well, where you have a little bit more of an easier time picking out bets. But like you, I've picked Rodriguez, I picked RoboCop in this fight. Look, there's big power here on both sides. Bruno Ferreira is coming in here, like you said, on short notice. And the reason I have a pick, and that's RoboCop, I have no play on this fight. And it's the power of Ferreira that scares me here early days, that if he does clip RoboCop, he could put him away. I don't think he's going to. I think if Rodriguez plays his cards correctly in this fight, is what he should be doing, is trying to bring the Hulk into deep waters. And I think, if he manages to do that, I think Ferreira has only seen just past the 1 minute mark in round 2. So I'm looking to bring him in past that again and see what he's about. So that means you're not taking too many chances early in this fight. If you're Rodriguez, if you ask me, but you know what, the man has a bit of berserker in him as well.
Yeah, he don't mind a dust up either.
He doesn't.
He don't mind chucking knuckles.
He ain't always about playing it safe. He ain't always about that life. But I think he has enough in him to get the job done. And I think if he brings Bruno Ferreira into the later rounds, I think we might see the Hulk turn into Bruce Banner in the later stages of this fight. So that's why my pick is RoboCop, Gregory Rodriguez to win. No play on this fight.
Unrelated, favorite film version of the Hulk? Mark Ruffalo, Eric Bana, or Edward Norton?
I think Mark Ruffalo.
Yeah, I would agree.
I think Mark Ruffalo. I liked Eric Bana as well, but I think even with Edward Norton never sat right with me, and I think he didn't play the part all that well. And I think the movie was pretty shit, and storyline was pretty shit, the script was pretty shit, and the same can be said about Bana. I think Ruffalo had the benefit of having some good scripts and also played the character of Bruce Banner quite well, along with the Hulk too. So
I tend to agree. Move to the lightweight division. Thiago Moises against Melk Costa, a short notice newcomer coming in against a established veteran in the lightweight division, a guy that I think is a dark horse. I know where I'm going, but where are you going, my man?
For me, it's got to be Moises in this fight. I think that, he's the more athletic, more experienced guy, obviously. I think his explosiveness on the feet, but he's had a chip on his shoulder in this last fight where he was saying, I don't want to play around on the feet all too much. And he closed the distance and he got aggressive. He's very explosive as a grappler, and his strength in the grappling department is unbelievable. I mean, that was, I believe, a one-armed rear naked choke that he secured the last time. And I can see him not messing around here too much either. I think he's going to be going in there looking to try and get the job done pretty quickly in this fight. And I have picked Moises, but once again, I've chosen not to play anything on this fight as well. A little bit too much unknown, really, for me with Costa. Costa is a pressure fighter. He does have a nice wide variety of strikes and has a good scrambling and a good sweep game, but I just don't think it's good enough to kind of cause Thiago Moises any issues here. So I fancy Moises to get his hands raised.
Yeah, I think he does as well. He's a guy that I've talked about this week as a potential dark horse in this division. You look at the guys that have beaten him, they're all quality competitors. You mentioned the win last time out against Christos Giagos. Great finish. I'm playing a finish as well. I've got $20 on Moises to finish. Doesn't matter when, doesn't matter how, at plus 105. So 20 gets me 41. I think he gets it done. I think just the overall, all the pieces that go into this, right? More experienced guy, UFC debut on the other side for Costa, on a pay-per-view in Brazil, at home. It's Brazil versus Brazil here, but Moises has done this. He's been in a main event against the current champion, Islam Makhachev. So fighting on the prelims in Rio isn't going to phase him. We don't know the impact it's going to have on Costa. I think with 15 minutes to work, Thiago Moises gets a finish. So that's my play. 20 gets me 41. That's where I'm going there. Move to the welterweight division. Munir Lazzez against the younger of the fighting Bonfim brothers, Gabriel Bonfim. I'm going with Bonfim here. I don't feel super confident in it. I don't have any plays on this fight. Part of it is I'm taking the younger guy that is a little bit more explosive overall, like in the suddenness and in the immediate impact of things. I think Lazzez can be tricky in terms of his length and the diversity of strikes that he brings to the table. But he's also a guy, and it's mostly the Angelosa fight last time out. He kind of lets guys hang around. And he's somebody that, for all the talk that there was about him coming off his debut win over Abdul Razak Al Hassan, he kind of just lets guys hang around. And I don't know whether it's fights down to the level of his competition, is a little too confident at times, what it is, but I can see Bonfim coming out here and just being jacked up to be making his UFC debut. He's an undefeated kid. He doesn't know what it feels like to lose. There's not that questioning yourself yet. He's fighting at home in Brazil against a guy that's somewhat established. Good chance for him to go out, get a first win. I'm not making any plays, but my pick is Gabriel Bonfim. What about you?
I actually have Munir Lazzez in this fight as my pick. Look, at Bonfim is a guy that likes to kind of walk his opponents down and land big shots. And that's going to make this fight a really exciting fight, because Lazzez is a guy who will kind of try and fight on the back foot a little bit and try to counter a little bit. So obviously when you have someone moving forward and someone moving back, it's always an interesting kind of technical battle on the feet. I do expect Lazzez to be the bigger and the stronger guy in there. I do believe that he will be able to land the more impactful shots. I think Bonfim, when he's his most successful, is when he's able to bully his opponents. And I think he did that in Dana White's Contender Series quite well. But I do feel that his level of opposition, I know he fought Trey Waters and he won with a Von Flue choke, but I thought Trey Walker...
When you can win by Von Flue choke, it tells you the level of competition.
That's a kind of an exclamation mark. And even looking at Trey Waters on the feet, he was kind of going right in front of Bonfim and with his arms down and circling his head right in front of him. I was like, dude, this guy hits like a truck. What are we doing here? But look, at Bonfim got the job done. He got him out of there, but I think he's taken a big step up in competition here. I think Lazzez will have John Mitchell, Irish John Mitchell, who's a mixed martial artist from Ireland that's training out there in Dubai with him, who is a phenomenal Muay Thai striker. I've not talked to him. I don't have any inside information, but I know what I've seen in Lazzez is minor improvements in his stand-up each time he's gotten in there, and I think we're going to see a bit more of an improvement in there on Saturday night, and he'll just have enough to get the job done. But I'm not counting Bonfim out here. This guy is a great fighter, and I'm excited to see his career in the UFC. And if he gets the job done against someone like Lazzez, I mean, yeah, we're off to the races here. We've got a guy that we can talk about. So, but ultimately, look, I've got to say, I don't fuck with Munir Lazzez. I don't appreciate what he said after the fight when he was calling out Daniel Kinahan. I think he can fuck himself for that, to be honest. But I mean, I'm going to keep my picks honest. I'm not going to let my emotions get away in the pick, and I pick him to win this fight. I think he's going to be the better fighter on the night.
Fair enough. We will spend no more time talking about him. We move forward to the heavyweight division. Shamil Abdurakhimov against Jailton Almeida. I think we agree that this is Jailton Almeida, correct? This is Maladino come out, smash the big burly Russian, get himself a victory. So it really comes down to, are you putting any money behind it? I'm not. I'm staying away. The numbers are just way too disinteresting for me. He's minus 1,000 on the money line as the favorite. No thanks. The finish prop is minus money as well. The first round prop is minus money as well. And I think that's what happens. So I'm just staying away. I'm just going to watch him go out and smash Shamil Abdurakhimov. Have you got any plays, Ian?
I do not, sir. No, I'm exactly in the same thought process. There's just no value in this. Like, I mean, minus 1,000 is not worth it. First round finish is minus 163. I mean, there's nothing saying that Shamil might be able to hang on until round two, right. But I think there's no doubt.
He made it into the first 30 seconds of the second round with Chris Dawkins.
Yeah.
I mean, similar, we saw it last week, right? I had the first round prop bet on Abdul Razak Al Hassan. goes through the first round, grapples more than we've ever seen him grapple, uses that clinch, and then comes out in 28 seconds into the second round, decides to get your guy Claudio Ribeiro out of there in the second. Nothing to say that that doesn't happen here as well.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't think that there's going to be anything for Shamil to take out of this fight other than maybe saying that he could bring someone like Jailton Almeida to the second round or to the third round. But what we've seen so far from Almeida is just he's going to bull rush forward. He's going to try and take you down, and he's going to try and smash your face in or submit you. And I think that's what we're going to see in this fight. And I'm not confident enough to predict when it's going to happen. So my pick obviously is Jailton Almeida. I have no plays as a part of this fight.
Tell me your thoughts on the lightweight fight between Terrence McKinney and the elder member of the Bonfim family, Ismail Bonfim.
It's a real family affair on Saturday night for the Bonfims. And I've got to say, all credit to Mr. and Mrs. Bonfim because they've created two explosive, exciting fighters. And I'm really excited for this one because I think Bonfim, a little bit more opposite to his brother who likes to push, likes to kind of, I've seen him liking to fight on the back foot a little bit more and counter now. And I don't know how well that is going to work for him in this Terrence McKinney fight. He's very explosive, throws kill shots all the time and has big power. And when he hurts you, he smells blood and he has a good finishing ability. I think the defining factor is that Terrence McKinney is the better overall fighter here. I think, he carries just as much power as Bonfim coming in here, but he also has the wrestling in his back pocket that he can rely on. And I think we discussed on the preview show is that if we see Terrence McKinney, the mixed martial artist here, turning up, I think he gets this win. And I think he gets this win relatively easy, not super easy. I think Bonfim is going to be dangerous for a period here. But if we see Terrence McKinney, the entertainer, I mean, this is a flick of a coin and anything could happen here. I think my pick is Terrence McKinney. My play is I have this as part of a parlay. And I'll talk about that a little bit later.
Get me excited to hear about this parlay.
Oh yeah, there's a couple. There's a couple.
Curious to see how this is all building up.
I even have special names over them and everything.
Nice.
But I think I think Terrence McKinney, what he likes to do is fight extremely on the outside. Bonfim is going to have to try and get into the distance here, and he's going to have to try and get off his shots and stop the takedown. I feel that this fight is going to be a banger for however long it lasts, but I do feel that Terrence McKinney, I have high hopes that McKinney is going to go far in the lightweight division, and I think he's going to be the better fighter and get the win on the night.
So I do as well on all of those fronts. I have Terrence McKinney as my pick. You mentioned there that this is going to be a banger for as long as it lasts. I'm banking on it not lasting more than 5 minutes. But what I'm also doing is hedging a little bit. So I've got $20 on Terrence McKinney to win in round one at plus 140. So 20 turns into 48. But I've also got a little $5 hedge, Ismail Bonfim to win in round one at plus 500, where 5 gets me 30. Because as we've seen from Terrence McKinney, both in the UFC and outside of the UFC, for the most part, we're not going more than 5 minutes, boys. We're getting in there and we're slinging, and whoever falls, somebody's falling, and we're getting out of here. We don't get paid by the hour. We're just coming in. We're doing work as quick as we can. I fall, you fall, somebody's falling. So if this one ends inside the first 5 minutes, I'm cashing a ticket. It's either 5 for 30 or 20 for 48. I won't often hedge. I won't often do these kinds of hedges, but it's just that little bit of, if Terrence McKinney goes out there and is just a little too loose and a little too confident and a little too full of himself, I think Ismail Bonfim can find his chin and put him out.
I do too.
We'll just counter there on the other side in case.
A naughty little bet there. I like it. And we've seen that from Terrence McKinney. Like, he has had those lapses in judgment and lapses in kind of concentration. And I think that Bonfim does have that power that he can put him away if he does catch him cleanly. And
I think if McKinney fights the way he has to this point, we've seen that gas tank goes relatively quickly, because he's all out trying to get that finish. That's the Drew Dober fight, right? come out gangbusters, put him on the back foot, hurt him. Then he's chasing and he's chasing and he's chasing. And all of a sudden he can't get him out of there. Drew Dober recovers and Terrence McKinney's dead tired and gets bounced. So we'll see what happens. Move on to the welterweights, Warlley Alves, Nicholas Dalby, a pair of veterans. We talked about it on the previous show very briefly. Just this is one of those fights where it's just a fight. Doesn't have a lot of divisional significance or ramifications, but it's two old dogs that this is going to be a good fight. No matter how this shakes out, this is going to be an entertaining fight. I'm picking Warlley Alves strictly from a slightly younger and has home field advantage. That's all I got, because I don't really trust him all that much because he's been super inconsistent since he was the first guy to beat Colby Covington way back when. But Nicholas Dalby hasn't been particularly consistent in the UFC either. 16-1 outside of the UFC, but only a 500 fighter in the UFC. So give me the Brazilian in Brazil, no plays, just watch the veterans get after it. What about you?
Yeah, I'm along the same lines of thinking here, almost exactly when it comes to Warlley Alves, who I have picked to win this fight as well. It will be a close battle, I feel. I feel, we've seen Alves compete well inside there. I think if he turns up to this fight like he did in his fight against Mansour Lazzez, I think he'll win this relatively easy, to be honest. But like you said, he blows hot and cold a little bit too much. Very explosive on the feet. He's a good takedown defense. And I just think last time against Jeremiah Wells, he came across just a bigger, more powerful, more athletic guy than him. And I just don't think that Dalby has that. Dalby has that durability. But he kind of came on strong in his last fight against, was Claudio Silva, I believe, wasn't it? He came on strong against Claudio Silva because Claudio Silva gassed.
Right.
And I think that was a big defining factor in him getting the win in that fight. He lost the first round, I believe, of that fight. And I don't think that Warlley Alves is going to gas out here. So it's going to be a very interesting battle. But I fancy Warlley Alves to get the win. And I have a little bit of a parlay play on this as well that I'm teasing these parlay plays. If they don't work out, we might have to toss them in the garbage can after.
We've got 3 more fights to get through before we get to various parlays that will be made. The first of those is the featherweight fight between Josiane Nunez and Zara Fairn. This to me is one-way traffic. This to me is, with all due respect to Zara Fairn, who is a veteran of the sport, who is a bit of a pioneer in terms of female fighters from France. She is also 0-2 in the UFC and has been bounced very quickly both times. My pick is Josiane Nunez, and my play is tied with several others as my largest individual play of the night. And it's $20 on Nunez to win in round 1 at plus 220. 20 gets me 65. Empirical evidence just tells me that she can do this. We've seen her knock out and finish Bia Malecki in her debut, who is a much taller. Granted, that was at bantamweight, but we also saw her do well against Ramona Pascual last time out in this weight class. And I just think there's a little bit of, I don't want to say quit in Zara Fairn, but a little bit of, as soon as I got to be the nail too much, I don't really like being the nail that much. I'll be the nail a little bit, but then when it's really, there's quit in Zara Fairn. Let me just fucking say
there's no point in
she looks for exits.
Yeah, there's no point in exits.
And I think Josiane Nunez is going to open the door for her relatively early in the first round and just be like, here you go. Have yourself a lovely night. What do you think?
I think, I fancy Nunez for this fight big time as well. Not confident enough to kind of pick her for a decision. I have a part of a parlay as well. But look I looked at Farron's last fight against Megan Anderson, and I was going to watch a couple of fights back to see if there was any avenues. And do you know what? In the first 30 seconds of that Megan Anderson fight, I seen all that I needed to see. I mean, she just wailed forward with her chin in the air, throwing windmills at Megan Anderson. And I think she was absolutely lucky that she didn't meet a straight right hand there. Megan Anderson decided not to throw. She decided to take her down and get the win that way. I don't think Jocelyn Nunes is going to play that game either. I think Jocelyn Nunes is going to be looking to keep her off her and land those big shots. She'd either set her up for one of those big shots, or Farron is going to run into one of those big shots.
I think Farron is going to run into one of those big looping overhands.
100%. And I can see this fight being over before it starts. Still, that being said, you know, I decided to keep it into a parlay rather than going for the finish. Like I said, I had a look at some of my other bets as well. I decided not to kind of lump on that this time around, but I'm fairly confident in Nunes winning this fight. And I would be also fairly confident in her getting the finish as well. Whether it's in round 1 or round 2, we'll see, but it's likely going to be in round 1.
I hope it's in round 1. We actually start the event with back-to-back bantamweight fights. The second of those in, so the second of the two that we have, the first of the two that we have left, Lewin Lacerda against Cody Stamann. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I like this fight. Lacerda, obviously a former LFA bantamweight champion, a Nuvu Nyo fighter as well. Will probably have Jose Aldo in his corner for this fight as well. Look at, he's your typical kind of Nova Nyo fighter. He'll fight mid distance. He'll use his kicks. He'll try and get off his strikes. But he's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, and he's going to be looking for, and I feel he always will be looking for, to try and take the fight down or take his opponents down. But I'm not sure if he's going to be able to do it against someone like Cody Stamann in this fight. I think Stamann should have enough. I expect him to be trade in the pocket and not have any fear in doing that with someone like Lacerda, and to be able to take to defend the takedown and kind of dictate the fight where he needs it to go for him to win. So my pick for the fight is Cody Stamann, and I have this fight as part of a parlay as well. That we'll talk about in just a few moments. The wait is nearly over, guys. I've been talking up these
anticipation has been building. We are getting close. I have Cody Stamann as my pick, the exact same reasons that you do. Give me the guy that has a bunch of experience in the UFC already over the guy that is making his debut at home with the pressure of being the next Nova União guy. Brings us to the opener. Simon Oliveira, Daniel Marcos, again in the bantamweight division. This, to me, when I looked at it, zero plays. This is a coin flip fight. This can go, to me, any number of ways. I lean Oliveira simply because he's made the walk once before, and he fought Tony Gravely tough. You and I both have a ton of respect for Tony Gravely, and so give me the guy that fought Tony Gravely tough, has made that walk once before, over the guy that hasn't. You look at the level of competition that Daniel Marcos has fought. It's not great. Yes, he's won 19 consecutive fights dating back to his amateur career, but it's not the best competition. Oliveira hasn't fought a ton of killers either, but he's been in the octagon with a guy I respect, and he did relatively well despite the loss. So give me Oliveira. Stay away from a play. That's my pick.
Pretty much with you on this one, Spence, to be honest. Look, I like Daniel Marcos.
But I got it as part of a parlay.
Yeah, I love it. I like Daniel Marcos. I like his style. Look at, he'll walk forward. He's big power, very little head movement, which I'm interested to see if Simon Oliveira can kind of just take advantage. Yeah, you see if he can, because I think with Oliveira, we didn't get the chance to see his striking all that much against Tony Gravely, and that was down to Gravely's use of the wrestling and an excellent game plan too, if you ask me, because we did see little snippets in that fight, and he did look dangerous on the feet. And I think he didn't get the chance to use his striking against Tony Gravely, but I don't think that's going to be a problem against someone like Daniel Marcos. I'm expecting this to be an absolute barn burner. This is going to be a tremendously entertaining fight, a flip of a coin as well. First, I was leaning with Marcos. The more I thought about it, it was more along the same lines of thinking as you. So my official pick is Oliveira to win. I have no plays on this fight. There's no parlays involved in this fight. That's it. We're just going with the straight pick for Oliveira. But man, Marcos could easily win this fight too. It's going to be fun to watch.
We are now through the fight card. We are through the individual fights. We have been teasing this for 50 minutes now. Ian O'Neill, let me hear what these parlays are.
All right.
Give them to me.
We've got two parlays, two small parlays. I want to call them a parlay. I don't know. I think more than two. I would consider more than two fights as a parlay. Anyway, we could call them parlays. We can call them trebles, whatever you want to call them. But I've got two called the prelims parlay that I'm going to share with you now, and then we've got the going the distance parlay as well. So my prelims parlay, first of all, is Nunes at minus 550 to win, Stamen at minus 350 to win, and McKinney at minus 138 to win. That's 3 straight wins. Doesn't matter how they do it. $20 will get you back $52.44. Just a quick triple. 3 fighters to win on the prelims will set you nicely up with $52 to play around with on the main card, or maybe a little bit later on in the prelims as well. My going the distance parlay is pretty much what it says on the tin, Spencer. It's 3 fights that I feel are going to go the distance, and I've selected, and confidence levels on this are not super high, but I think I'll go with Murphy and Andrade to go all the way. Doesn't matter who wins. I have Warley Alves versus Nicholas Dalby to go all the way. At plus 110, that fight is. I think Dalby is super durable. Warley Alves, not known for being in too many decisions, but on the other hand, Dalby has been involved in a lot of decisions, and I think both of those guys are durable. I could see that going all the way. If you want to take that on its own, that's plus 110. And last but not least, I have Figgy and Moreno. I have Davison Figueiredo and Brandon Moreno to go the distances in their fight. I think we've seen it twice already. I think it's likely we see it again. Murphy Andrade minus 120, Alves Dalby plus 110, which will bump up the bet. Figgy Moreno minus 150, all to go the distance. $10 will give you back 64.17, and that's it.
I like it. Well worth the wait. Before we get out of here, I have my 3 that I will make every single fight card just for the just on the chance that we have a run of success, that we hit some consecutive wins. So my main card parlay, it's just my same picks: Glover Teixeira, Brandon Moreno, Gilbert Burns, Jessica Andrade, and Paul Craig. $1 gets you $13.96. If we sweep the main card, we make some extra money. On the prelims, same thing. $1, same picks: Shogun Hua, Gregory Rodriguez, Thiago Moises, Gabriel Bonfim. See, I've only got last names listed, and I got to remember: Jailton Almeida, Terrence McKinney, Warley Alves, Josiane Nunes, Cody Stamen, and Simon Oliveira. I got to remember to put first initials for all of these similarly named Brazilians.
I don't want you pulling any. I don't want to pull you any dirty tricks here. That's now. Right. If one of the Bonfim brothers wins,
that's right. Switch it out all of a sudden. It is Gabriel Bonfim. So that is, again, $1. Parlay odds come to plus 6,047. So $1 gets me $60.56. And then the full card, if we go 15 for 15, all of those names that I have mentioned throughout the show, just running them back there, $1 at plus 91,911 gets me $918.60. Listen, if we go 15 for 15 and we bring home that kind of money, we'll be celebrating.
We'll
be on here in tuxedo shirts.
Yeah, we're turning up in sunglasses and mink suit. We're
gonna pimp this place out if we do that. It's gonna look great.
Maybe before we go, look at I have not looked up this bet. I have not. I don't know what price is. I don't even know if there is a price. But if I was to pick my fight of the night overall, if anyone was looking for that, I really fancy that Brandon Moreno and Davison Figueiredo is going to be. If it goes all the way, I think it's an absolute guarantee. Okay, either guy could catch each other early in the fight. It might not happen, but we've seen 3 fantastic contests between those 2 men already. I think this is shaping up to be another fantastic contest, and I think if it goes all the way, it's almost guaranteed to be fight of the night. And if you're looking to put a fight of the night bet on, that would be my number 1 pick.
Yeah, the one thing I will say to anybody that is looking to wager on either fight of the night or bonuses, if you can find that at your book, the UFC always tends to lean to the main card. You got to do something really spectacular on the prelims. And so that championship fight, the quadrology, feels like a very good pick. I second that pick as the potential fight of the night. But that'll do it for us. That's 2 episodes in the books. We did well last week. I did well last week. You didn't do as well last week.
Yeah. Don't remind me, Spencer. God, it hurts enough already, man. I already had to deal with it this week.
I can't wait till I absolutely poo the bed this weekend and you catch a whole
you're
bunch
going to
of
get it
tickets,
for sure.
and
Like
I'm going to get it. Like
I was there minding my own business this week.
That's right.
I was
and then you
minding
watched.
I was minding
And then
my
you
own
watched
business.
10 things, and there was a drive-by at the end.
I could not believe it. I was shocked and appalled. All I wanted to do was do what I do every week, minding my own business, enjoying
support your friend, enjoy his content, and there he is.
Fantastic content. And next thing, I get personally attacked at the last thing, as the last thing in 10 questions. I could not believe my eyes. I thought we were friends, Spencer.
For anybody that is feeling really, really bad for Ian right now, please understand that I walked into us taping the preview and told him straight away to his face, "Oh, I took shots." By the way, I closed out 10 things. I closed out 10 things teasing us doing the picks in plays tomorrow by saying one of us had turned a profit and the other is Ian O'Neill. Hopefully that continues. Actually, no. Hopefully we both turn profit. Hopefully we both.
I just hope I turn more of a profit.
We just come out in the black. I don't care if you're ahead of me in terms of earnings or not. If you're behind me, I'm going to give it to you every time. Just that's the way it is. I'm the younger brother in life. And so I've got to just constantly take the wins that I can and big them up every time I can. But look, this has been fun through 2 weeks. I cannot wait to see where it gets to, where it goes, how all of this plays out on Saturday. For everybody that is watching, I hope whatever wagers you make, you cash those tickets. Please, again, remember, please wager responsibly. If you, your loved ones, anyone you know, anyone you care about is struggling with issues, please check the show notes for those links that we mentioned off the top. For Ian, I am Spencer. These are the picks and plays, and we'll see you next week.